version. Glad that you decided to join us tonight. As usual, I will be diving into obviously a very dark subject tonight, but I was kind of due to cover this. It was kind of inevitable. I went over this a little bit in the previous stream, but didn't get too in depth because I wanted to wait to, make sure that I had my references together. There's a lot to go through in these Epstein files, and you're kind of left to your own research to put things together. You could obviously use other people's research as a starting point, which I did some of that, but I wanted to go over specifically what I'm calling the Epstein Occult dossier, which I have been writing the past couple days, and this is going to be published on Substack. If you're joining us, welcome. I appreciate you being here. Hello to all my friends over we're streaming on X, I believe, tonight, and on Substack as well. So hello to everyone who's joining us across the multiple platforms that we're on tonight. So I will be trying to check the chat for all three. I'll do my best, but as you know, the best way for me to see any of your comments is going to be with a donation, whether it's a super chat or through the link in my bio in my website. That'll probably be the best way to donate. But with that out of the way, I thought we would just kind of dive right into this because I don't have too many other updates or anything like that to talk about. Now, what you're looking at here is, I guess, a draft. I'm going to be publishing this probably tomorrow. I'm just about done putting this together. It's been a lot of work, a lot of browsing the DOJ website to find just to basically confirm this stuff and look for other connections. There's really, no easy way to draw the connections yourself other than through the search capabilities on the website. So it's a lot of that. You have to kind of know what you're looking for. But why are we covering this? I mean, everyone else has covered this already, right? I'm sure you guys have all seen enough Epstein content at this point, yet it feels like we're kind of just getting started because it's only been a couple weeks since the latest DOJ file drops, right? And there's, I don't remember how many, but it feels like close to 1 million at this point. Epstein files, that's not even all of them. We'll probably never see all of them. Even the ones that we do have are greatly redacted. There's a lot of redactions. In fact, a lot of the DOJ files I was looking through were redacted, but through some of the other websites that have, created a database for all of this, they've been able to confirm certain conversations that occurred between individuals that were redacted in the DOJ files. The DOW is over 50K for this last drop. Is that what you mean there, Chad? So it's a lot. It's a lot to go through. Not everyone has the time to do this. I kind of do, but it's not something I plan to spend that much time doing. I think once I publish this, I'll kind of move on and keep my eye on some certain things that I've been able to find, certain threads that I am interested in that I'll keep tracking. But otherwise, what's in here, what we're going to cover tonight, is mostly what I'm interested in. And I'll just say this before we get into it. This isn't really, in my opinion, about Epstein in particular. Epstein I see as kind of, as I say here, as powerful as Epstein was, he was by no means a leader among the cryptocracy, right? He had people who were above him. He wasn't at the top of this hierarchy, right? He had people who he was answering to. He had certain figures that were financing him, right? We're going to get into all that. But, his correspondences are just merely, I see them as entry points into this great conspiracy of our time, maybe the greatest conspiracy of our time. This is something that, can you imagine getting this amount of information regarding any conspiracy or controversial, powerful leader in world history, where we're actually getting this much of their personal conversations between other extremely powerful individuals, many more powerful than Epstein, right? So this is unprecedented. And it raises the questions that I ask here, which is why now? I asked this in the last stream, right? Why are we seeing this now? The DOJ released, there you go, 44,000 plus documents. That's, I think, in just the latest drop. And then all these independent researchers are now kind of scrambling to build these tools. And so we're kind of just starting, like I said, we're just starting this area of research. I'll show you some of the tools I've been using. There's one in particular, I think I showed it on the last stream, that I found to be the most useful. And then the other question is, what are they still hiding? And that may never be answered. So, there's stuff that's in here that we have to assume is just simply what the government is allowing us to know, right? They know very well what's in there. They made all these redactions. They spent months, if not years at this point, probably more like years, making all of these redactions. We don't know who even did this. It's top secret. It'll probably never be disclosed. The committee that worked on the Epstein files and did all these redactions, right? We'll probably never know what's in those redactions. Maybe a long time from now, we'll know some of them. But the point is, we don't have everything, okay? So what we do have, we have to assume that the government is well aware that they were releasing to the public and that we'd be able to draw these conclusions or speculations with what they put out there. Okay, so then the question is, why do they want us to know this? Why are they okay with us knowing this stuff, right? And so there's basically, well, I put 3, but there's basically 4. I guess you can say these 2 here are kind of the same theme. So we'll say genetic modification, like gene editing, AI, transhumanism, secret societies, and esoteric influences. These are really nothing that unexpected. I mean, all 3 of these things are very closely intertwined. You see these threads, intertwining throughout history, and almost any kind of grand conspiracy that you might research and look into, you'll find these underlying themes. And there's more to it, obviously, but like these are, I would say, are the primary patterns that you'll see throughout. So yeah, we're going to look into that. I don't even think I'm going to get into this whole thing, honestly. So what I'll say now is to, if you're not already, subscribe on my Substack, because I'll be publishing all of the stuff that we'll be covering here and more, probably behind a paywall, because it's been, a few days since I've been working hard at this. So there'll be definitely enough for you to check out for free between this video and what I'm going to publish. So go make sure you're subscribed over on Substack. It's thereversion.co. And you'll see when I go publish what we're going to cover here. So, this is 10,000 words, almost 11,000 words. We're not going to be able to cover everything here. Maybe another stream. We'll see how this goes. Maybe this might be due for another stream. If there's interest, if there's enough interest, we'll cover it again. Let me just check over on Substack. Make sure we're good here. Okay. Yep. All right. Let's get into it here. Oh, I got to check Twitter too. Sorry. Let me get all my chats open. Make sure I'm not missing your precious comments. All right. So, all right, let's get into this here. Yeah, that's a good question. Why why do they want us all to know the world is run by satanic pedo? Yeah, and why do they want to vindicate all these insane conspiracy theories that have been completely dismissed and disregarded as being kind of in the realm of like Q-tard stuff, right? And now it's all vindicated basically. Like you see all the stuff that the conspiracy community have been talking about for years in the Epstein files, like it's all revealed now. So I mean, again, this is something we know by now, and within at least within the past few weeks, we've been seeing enough evidence that this stuff really is in the files to some degree, to varying degrees. Um, so yeah, great questions. That's the kind of stuff you guys before we even get into these details and stuff. Those are the primary questions you should be asking. Is like, why would they even want us to know this? Right? They could have just not. They could have redacted all this stuff that we're going to look at tonight. And then all the other stuff that you've been seeing as well. It's like they could have just redacted all that and given us still kind of appeased everyone by releasing all of this stuff and like kind of redacting the more conspiratorial stuff. You could ask maybe, did they even know? Were they able to draw these same conclusions? Like, again, we don't know because we have no idea who these people were that were involved in the committee. So for the EFTAs. So, all right, let's finally get into this here. So the first, and I would say most significant secret society that Epstein was a part of that we were able to find from the files was called the Zodiac Club. This was a club that was founded in 1868 in Manhattan by General Edward Elmer Potter, and it consisted of only 12 members. It was locked at 12, and then the seats for new initiates would only open when one of the 12 members would die. And so each member was assigned a zodiac sign on their initiation. So they each represented the 12 zodiac. And there's a document on this called the Records of the Zodiac that you can see here. It's on archive.org. Again, all these links will be in the article. There's tons of links to the actual documents too. So this is the 1868 to 1915 record of this Zodiac secret society. And so you can like read about, their kind of objectives. They have a constitution here. They have a list of key members, I guess. So you have like 3 generations of members. There's 12, 12, and 12, it looks like. And so who were these members? Well, some of them, first of all, you had JP Morgan. He was the first brother Libra. So he was the first member that represented Libra, one of the original members. And then his son inherited the Libra chair after he died. Nelson Aldrich, who was the Pisces representative, he was a U.S. senator who organized the 1910 Jekyll Island meeting that was convened under spelled wrong, false pretenses. And yeah, if you're familiar with the story of Jekyll Island, how they established the Federal Reserve, the whole thing was under a cover story that they were going on a duck hunting trip. It's ridiculous. Will this go more than an hour? I would assume so, yeah, because we're already 20 minutes in and I'm just getting started. Yeah. It'll probably go closer to 2 hours. So, all right, where were we? So yeah, you have JP Morgan. Morgan co-owned the Jekyll Club that hosted it, right? So the Jekyll, the Zodiac Club was like, I guess there was like an overlap with the establishment of the central bank through the Jekyll Island trip and the Zodiac Club. Um, the overlap between architects of American central banking and their membership of a 158-year-old occult adjacent secret society is not incidental. It is the point. The Zodiac Club was never about zodiac signs. It was about who was in the room. Well, it's also about zodiac signs, but that's, yeah. I mean, as you know, with these secret societies, they usually have some kind of occult, esoteric, symbology and reference. The Jekyll Island connection is documented in the Zodiac Club. This is a list of known historical members that I was able to find some just, more well-known figures. And there's also this here, the Corsair Club, which I think this is further down. I think maybe we'll get into this later. Oh, this is from an article. Okay, so this is from a New York Times article that may be paywalled. Yeah, this is going to be paywalled. So I clipped it so we can actually see some of the contents here. So it was like a dinner club. Some of the clubs dine at this some stated place, usually at some clubhouse to which one or more of the members belong. The Corsair Club dined at various places, chiefly hotels, sometimes on Mr. Morgan's yacht. And once the club went down to Washington to dine with Chauncey M. Depew, then in the United States Senate and a member. And so this is something you'll see throughout the Epstein files. He's constantly arranging these elite dinners that were invite only. And we're going to see more examples of that as well. So yeah, here's some of the screenshots here. And, you can see it says in Article 5 in the Constitution, it says that it is a dinner club. So it's almost exclusively a dinner club. They had all these exclusive dinner meetings that they would discuss their, elite projects and whatnot. By 2010, Bob Puri, who is the president of Rothschilds Inc., that's the American arm of the Rothschilds banking dynasty, he was consulting Epstein's circle about nominating a former CERN physicist and Nobel laureate, Murray Gell-Mann. This guy appears throughout the Epstein files as well, especially his literary assistant was very involved in some of the transhumanist projects that Epstein was working with. And so you can see, what is this link here? So some of these links, I'm not exactly sure what they lead to. There was an article somewhere. Okay. The email notes casually that Paul Volcker, former chairman of the Federal Reserve, was already a member. Other notable members are Tom Brokaw, the NBC nightly news anchor. And there are obviously no minorities or women allowed. That's according to the one of the emails. If I can find it, I think, okay, here's the primary document, it says. And so this is to Jeffrey Epstein from, I think this is from Puri. And he says here, just got a note from Bob. I don't know who this is actually, so it's redacted. So he's saying he got a note from Bob Puri, who asked me if I thought Murray Gell-Mann would make a good candidate for the Zodiac. As you know, it's one of these last secret type societies. The Zodiac is one of the really cool ones. There are 12 members at any one time, and it is still very secret. They do really cool stuff, but mostly since they're all very old, it's just dinners in exotic locations. I can't tell you all 12 members because I don't know who they all are, but I know Paul Volcker is one. Some guy named Howdy, whose family owns Stuyvesant Town, Bob Puri, and I think Tom Brokaw. Bob represents cancer, so he's giving you more detail. Now, some of the sources I found were saying that Epstein was a member. And if you just read this email, it seems like he's not, like, why would he be a member? Why would he be in the secret society if this guy is telling him about the secret society? So I don't know that we have further evidence that he was actually a member there, and we'll go over that there was evidence he was part of other secret societies, but this one is notable because it's something I think I've personally never heard of it before. I don't know. Have you guys? Have you guys ever heard of the Zodiac Club? But now we know that there's this secret society that has been ongoing for 100 years and has, a line of successors who are very powerful, which started out with global banking elites that created the Federal Reserve. And so, some of these guys were in Epstein circles. They were very close correspondents with him. They were people who he entrusted. So, if he wasn't in the secret society, he was at least part of, I think he was being invited to their dinners, if I'm not mistaken. So he's being consulted though. So that's the interesting thing. It's like, how do we interpret this? Because, he is asking, why is he consulting Epstein about if this guy Murray Gell-Mann would make a good candidate for the Zodiac? So I don't know that this email gives us enough to conclude one way or another, but it's certainly alluding to that there was a level of trust between Epstein and this elite secret society. Yeah, good comment there, Apollo. Everyone that is not Orthodox, become Orthodox. Yeah, easy. Just become Orthodox. Yeah, good reminder. We need these kinds of reminders. Very simple. Okay. And so, yeah, okay. I didn't, sometimes I don't need to open all these files because I have them screenshotted here. So the next one, I mean, I think I'm going to assume if you guys are on top of this stuff, you've seen this part before. I mean, this has been talked about for years at this point. This isn't something new that we have in the latest DOJ releases, but I think some of this stuff was confirmed in the latest release. But Epstein was he listed himself as being a member of the Trilateral Commission, the Council of Foreign Relations, and the Bilderberg Group. He put them on his resume. Okay, so he was advertising this. This was no secret to him. He was kind of signaling to the elite that he was of this status, where he was being invited to these very occultic meetings between very powerful elite global, bankers, banking cartel members. And a DOJ released video interview captures Epstein explaining his invitation. I think we've all seen this video, I'm assuming, where he's talking about the Trilateral Commission, his relationship with Rockefeller, in his own words. I think it's here. Oops. Yeah, it's I don't know if I'll be able to play this in here. Yeah, okay.
How did a guy...
What if you could clean your retainer at the touch of a button? No more brushing or...
One sec, let me fix the sound here. Yeah, I'm not going to play this whole thing because, like I said, I think we all know.
Tablets. Over 4 years
We're all
ago,
familiar with this video at this point.
How did a guy like you get on the board of Rock? A blue blood, internationally known, hard research, Nobel Prize winners all over.
He actually had this. I believe he had this video himself on his hard drive. So Epstein himself had saved this video.
Place. How do they pick a guy like you, a traitor from?
I think it's around here.
So he thought that there was a world that existed that would be a combination of both politics and business and leadership.
Yo, let's go. W for Drifter. First liturgy, never felt such a peace. Glory to God. I love to hear that, man. See, that's why we say come and see, just show up. There's really, you can only explain so much. You have to go experience it.
What do I mean? He formed something called the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is some spooky stuff. People said it was some of the people that, the Illuminati, there's some mystery about it, people that ran the world. It was politicians, but David said most countries, the politicians get elected for 4 years or 8 years, separate from the royal families in England or in the Middle East. Someone's there for 4 years and then they're not there anymore. The most important people to have stability and consistency would be businessmen. So he formed this Trilateral Commission of businessmen and politicians from 3 major continents. So it was the North Americans, the Europeans, and the Asians. So he said to me, would you like to be on the Trilateral Commission? Now, I was 30 years old, 32 years old.
Yo, thank you for the $10 super chat. The Chadmiral. I was waiting for you to cover these. God bless you during this great Lent, brother. Chadmiral, appreciate that, man. Yeah, I wanted to give it some time to cover because I didn't want to rush. As soon as it came out, I needed some time to go over things. So I finally had some time this week to dive into it. And, I needed a break from my writing. And, I think I've got some stuff here that you guys have not seen before, hopefully. But yeah, thank you, Chadmiral. Appreciate the 10, man. God bless you.
I said, great. And he said, well, you have to fill out this application so they have your bio. And I looked at the list of people, and it was Bill Clinton, former president of the United States, Paul Volcker.
There's Volcker
every
again.
Great leader in America.
So that just for context, Volcker was mentioned as a member of that Zodiac Club.
The Asians, the Japanese, and with a very long description of their history. And they asked me to fill in what I would like
they have,
to.
Isn't it interesting that they all these secret societies, they keep a record of their succession. It's almost like they have this inversion of the apostolic succession, that's important to them, that they document all of their successors, their predecessors, right? And then you have Protestants who have the nerve to question that the church did exactly that, what all these, demonic people who are ruling the world do. And like the church didn't, you think like the church didn't document like who succeeded from the apostles, like it's just ridiculous. But all these, again, all these secret societies, they all did the same thing. They all have records of their, from start to present day, they all have records of who was in the club,
To have written. And I wrote Jeffrey Epstein, comma, just a good kid, which I thought was funny. Nobody else did.
So, all right, that one, this is old. We've seen this before. It's not anything new. And it's not even particularly esoteric, I don't think. I mean, this is like pretty like conspiracy theory 101 type stuff. Like, oh, wow, the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, it's all stuff that we've known about this for many years, that the powerful elites are involved in these things. So there's that. And he talks about Bilderberg, right? He's listed there. DOJ released video. We just covered that. Ghislaine Maxwell confirms that they were attending the trilateral meetings. Okay. That's in this email here. So this is, no, that's something else. This is the Ghislaine Maxwell email. And so this is Ghislaine Maxwell emailing Lars Erickson, and she says, functions, will there be any cute guys present other than you? I'm coming in for the trilateral meetings. Email me your number so I can call you and we can coordinate some trouble. I did a lot of I'm not familiar with all these names because I haven't really been following the Epstein conspiracy like in great depth. I mean, there's so many names that are mentioned that like I think you would have to be very intimately involved in examining this stuff and researching it to know who exactly are all these names. There's a lot of figures that are named, and I didn't really look up most of them unless I saw that they were that they kept resurfacing. So I don't know who this guy Lars Erickson is. Maybe does someone know who that is? I don't know if it matters, but it looks like he was also invited to the trilateral meetings, if I'm reading that right, because she's telling him I'm coming for the trilateral meetings. So maybe he was one of the members. Another 5 from. Wait, who's that? What was that? Oh, I'm sorry. Sporadice Echo. Thank you, man, for the 5. Epstein is involved in everything like the Nephilim before the flood. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was saying. It's like that's why this is so interesting, because he was a central figure. He may have not been the central figure, but he was certainly a central figure. And so that's why there's like, you're seeing all these other conspiracies that are intersecting with the Epstein files, because he was so central among the global elites. Yeah, he was involved in everything. And as we're going to see very shortly here, I mean, again, I'm covering kind of like the really surface level stuff right now, but what we'll see is that he did have interest in the occult. He was reading occult books, like actual occult books, not, like speculatively occult. And he seemed to have some knowledge. I'll say this, because you probably have noticed this if you've been reading his emails and his text messages. Do not be deceived by how he comes off in his the way that he was typing in these conversations. He was a boomer. Okay, he wasn't a good look. I mean, these were on his BlackBerry device, so it's like this was before autocorrect and all this stuff that we have now. So he was just kind of like smashing the buttons and typing this stuff out on the fly. He probably wasn't even on the computer most of the time. I think most of these were mobile. And so they're very like, they don't come across as like intelligent, but the more you read, like you'll see some glimpses into some conversations. And I would say specifically with certain figures, like there was, there's certain some of the tech elites that he was talking to, he had smarter conversations with. Steve Bannon, he had some very deep conversations with. So we're going to see all of this, but he was not a dumb guy. He wasn't dumb. So like he had occult knowledge. We're going to see that he had some knowledge of Kabbalah too. So there you go. Yeah, there's all the kind of the banking cartel stuff that we already knew about. Other affiliations, this one I found pretty interesting. Now, this one in particular is just kind of another side note, but there's what's called the Order of the Golden Sphinx, which is also known as the Hasty Pudding Institute. And this is, I wouldn't say a secret society, because they're, they have these public events, but it's some kind of inner circle for the arts, for theater, actors, artists. Epstein was very involved in the arts. He was, big fan of Broadway and, paintings, and, he was, it was, pretty interestingly, he had a lot of interest in Isaac Newton. And you can see this throughout the emails. Look up Isaac Newton. There's a long thread of him, multiple threads, where he's considering buying like $1 million painting of Isaac Newton. And he thinks that it's too overpriced, and he's trying to kind of negotiate with the seller, and he ends up backing out. But he was, he was interested in Isaac Newton and art enough that he was considering dropping $1 million on painting of Isaac Newton. So yeah, he was very involved in the arts, and he funded this Hasty Pudding Institute. So you can see there's an invite here that he got in his email. I think he went multiple years. I think from 2000, what is this? 2014, I think, was the first time he went. And the records show that he was attending for, I guess, 4 or 5 successive years. And, some of this stuff is very dark, but we all know what he was up to. There was apparently something very sinister that happened on the first year that he attended this meeting at the night of the event. So you can see that this is March 10th, 2014. The following day, he gets an email from a redacted person, and it says, "Thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty." Lord have mercy. So, and I think there's, it says here, as reported by Bloomberg, there's the newly public files show Epstein at Hasty Pudding galas from at least 2013 to 2019 and describe him as able to fill a table with girls. It didn't say women, it said girls. He continued to enjoy donor perks, including prime seating and VIP party access, even after his earlier conviction was a matter of public record. So that's the Hasty Pudding Society Institute, whatever. This one's pretty interesting. This, I believe there's a strong reason to believe he was in this inner circle here. It's called the Circle of Interalliance. Circle d'International, I guess, in French. I'm probably butchering that. It's a Paris elite club referenced in Epstein's emails. According to Dennis de Cargonolet, president of the Circle, and this I got from the website. He says the International was created in 1917. Okay, interesting year. Same year that the Balfour Declaration was signed. Same year as the Russian Revolution. Very significant year. 400-year anniversary of the Protestant Reformation, or I guess, a 400-year anniversary. With the purpose of being a place for the welcome and exchanges between the officers and the political leaders of the Allies. Impressed by its efficacy, its founders once again met after the armistice of 1918 to perpetuate the institute and make it into a circle that would permit the elite of France and friendly nations to get to know each other better and hold discussions. Okay, sounds pretty innocent, right? Oops, I just lost it. Sorry, where are we? Okay. This act of creation was the founding of the international spirit. Here, political and economic decision makers, diplomats, journalists, and today, once again, military leaders meet informally, exchange their ideas, and develop strategies. Strategies for what? To paraphrase General de Gaulle, who described the International as the French embassy in Paris, this place is intended to favor relaxation, understanding, and cooperation between the French and international elite. So Epstein met with this guy. It says right here in this email, sometime after October 2012, and was arranged through a former Warner Brothers France executive, Caroline Lang, the daughter of Epstein co-conspirator Jack Lang, the French politician. In the same month, Epstein corresponds with co-conspirator Jean-Luc Brunel, who also died in his French prison cell in 2022 after being charged with pedophilia. He actually coincidentally hung himself in his cell, same as Epstein, after he was hiding from the French government once Epstein was caught. And so this is a thread between him and Epstein, where they're talking about being invited to this secret society. What's this here? Matthew's email. I spoke with redacted. He doesn't have a good feeling about it. Some people do a Google search. Okay, and they're talking here about initiating a new member in. So this tells us that Epstein was in this inner circle, because we have now Jean-Luc Brunel emailing him, corresponding with him about potentially initiating a certain prospect into the circle. So he's saying Lang is better for, he's talking about, I would assume either Jack or Caroline Lang. I don't know if women are accepted in this particular circle, but he's referring to one of the Langs as being better for Fiach than the circle, better for Fiach for the circle international. Okay. He will not be accepted. So it is Jack Lang. He will not be accepted if he has the backing of unless he has the backing of powerful Americans. Sorry, some of this is hard to read. It's like a little blurry. It could be, for example, the U.S. ambassador. So you can see that the qualifications where you had to have some powerful U.S. backing. Louis Brandeis, is he in here? I didn't check for Louis Brandeis. That'd be interesting. That would be really interesting. Maybe we should do a search real quick to find. That would be a pretty big smoking gun if we can find anything with Louis Brandeis. Let's do a quick search. We'll do some on-the-fly research here. Let me get rid of this. Did I just go to the home page? Whoa. New rabbit hole unlocked. Oh, there's quite a lot on him, huh? 128 results. Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. So for those who don't know, Louis Brandeis had played a huge role in the establishment of the State of Israel. If you haven't read the book Against Our Better Judgment, go check that out. You can read it for free online. Very interesting. I don't have anything to go by here, but I'm going to definitely be diving down this. This is a new rabbit hole that I'm going to be looking into. Very interesting. Unless he's talking, I think it looks like maybe most of this is talking about Brandeis Institute. I think he has an educational institute. So a lot of that might be, now this is saying Louis Brandeis. What's this one about? Oh, this is some kind of writing. It's not an email. He has a lot of these like random documents too. Well, I mean, they're not random, but they're just, any documents, PDFs and stuff that he was sent or sent to others was also in the files. So, he didn't write this himself here. That is very interesting. Okay. So I'll save that, but thank you for pointing that out. All right. So Bohemian Grove. There's some allusion to one of his correspondence going to check out Bohemian Grove. Don't know if that means he's going to the ritual. I think in this conversation, they were talking about a documentary about Bohemian Grove. So, Epstein was a pretty interesting guy, aside from him being a PDF, PDF trafficker and all the demonic stuff that he was doing. And by interesting, I don't mean like in a good way, but he was interesting in the fact that he was in tune with conspiracy stuff. Like he was aware of Bohemian Grove. They were talking about watching a documentary about it. I found recently that he was talking to Deepak Chopra a lot about remote viewing. That comes later in this investigation, but he was interested in this documentary about remote viewing in particular, and telekinesis. So, for him to, and then, as I said, he knew about alchemy and the role that alchemy played in the development of modern science, for example, and how it was influenced in the work of Isaac Newton in particular, right? So, like, he was aware of this stuff. He was talking about the Philosopher's Stone. We'll see all this later on. And maybe I should just skip over this so we can get to the good stuff, but because I think this is not really a surprise to anybody. So I think this is basically saying there's at least one email where he had a guy corresponding with him telling him he's going to check out Bohemian Grove. I don't know that means Epstein was attending Bohemian Grove, but so, and then you have Epstein had his own secret society, he had his own inner circle, maybe multiple inner circles. Says the language across the EFTA files is consistent and explicit. This was not a social network. It was a graded hierarchy. And so you can see that he is employing all of this established hierarchy that you see in secret societies. Someone in the files was told by the inner circle, not by Epstein personally, but by one of the members, that they were not to communicate with a specific individual, and that if they did, they would be in deep trouble. You can see that here. Okay, this is from Epstein. Or I guess it's this one. He's responding to redacted here. JE complaint is that I never emailed him or returned his emails, but he must understand I was told by the inner circle not to have any communication with him. And if I did, I would be in deep trouble. So I think this is whoever's emailing Epstein has pasted a text in that maybe they got from another email from this member that was, talking about how he or she is not allowed to communicate directly with Epstein. And he's saying, again, you see all these typos and stuff in a conferee, comma, right? He was terrible at typing, but he wasn't dumb. It was that she said not correct her mistakes. Simple. Yeah. So he's just he's a boomer. It's boomer tech. All these correspondences between him and these other people, it's all his boomer tech style of communicating. What is it? History of propaganda. Brandeis is there founding the inquiry, predecessor to the CFR, predecessor to the trilateral or big. Wow. Yeah. I'm aware that he's a very lesser known, but deeply influential figure in many ways. It's kind of a shame how uncovered he is, to be honest. Like I haven't seen many people, at least that I am aware of, that I follow, who cover him in depth. So he's a very interesting figure. I might have to do a deep dive on him, but there's never you can't even do one stream on him because there's a lot. I mean, I would say go read Alison Weir's book Against Our Better Judgment. There's a lot on Louis Brandeis. It's almost like the whole book's about him. Access codes existed for passing through gates to reach specific members. Reid Hoffman is described precisely in one email as a friend of the first circle. Okay, there's initiates, there's a first circle, there's an inner circle. So this is all terminology that's drawn from these fraternal orders. And they even communicate that way as if they're in a fraternal order. So, they're talking about trust levels, things like that. There's an interesting email here that says, June 2011, Epstein emailed a woman named Marina from Istanbul about designing his own hierarchy modeled after the Topkapi Palace, the Ottoman Sultan's residence, where the harem was a formal institution with levels: novice, trainee, favorite, chief consort, and Epstein's versions had 4 levels: initiates, favorites, beliefs, and principles. Okay. And so in this email, he's saying exactly why he calls it a harem. Why does he call his inner circle a harem? It meant protection for those inside from those outside. Mozart wrote the Seraglio. There's a main theme, recapitulated, echoed, enhanced by its variations, many movements, intrigue in the melodies. See what I mean? Bad at typing, but very, like, he knew his stuff. Like he had a deep kind of knowledge of the symbolic and of history and of the arts. Okay. The harmony and wings can be heard as you spend the summer eating experiences. Try to be open from your judgments only after they have been fully digested. I look forward to spending time with you. So it's a pretty deep message there compared to the other ones. Marina responded, acknowledging a queen mother and asking what are the levels at Jeffrey's harem, treating it as an existing known system. Epstein replied by quoting Mozart's abduction. That's what he was talking about, the abduction from the Seraglio, which is an opera about women held captive in a harem. The harem meant protection from those inside. Yeah, okay, we covered that. So I document all of this stuff. And again, this is going to be on the Substack with links to all of these documents. I spent a lot of time tracking these down just to verify everything and just to read it myself. Because I think, what I found, like on Twitter specifically, is a lot of these documents, screenshots get shared and the people will highlight certain things. And then all the attention is drawn to what's highlighted, and you can lose the context of what's actually being said. If you're just, people are just like, see, it says right here, highlighted, like, don't worry about the rest. It just says that, and it's like, sometimes it matters. Like, who is it from? What's going on in the thread, right? What are they responding to? What are the events that are being referenced? Who are these people? Like, there's a lot of questions you should ask before you just read one of these files and make a conclusion from it. So let me check. Let me catch up on Substack chat here. We got Winds of Fate says, I just wrote an article about Epstein that touches on this angle. Lacks the depth, full depth of yours, but meant as an entertaining starter for normies. Oh, that's great, man. Thank you for doing that. Thanks for information. I reference your great articles. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. That's good. Yeah, that's a good. That's needed stuff. That's more normie friendly, because I don't think this is normie friendly. I'm assuming a lot of the stuff that I'm naming in this article is for people that have some level of familiarity with this stuff. So that is much needed stuff for normies, because a lot of normies are waking up now. There's a big demand for this. Yeah, the way he types is indicative of high spiritual understanding. That's what I mean. Yeah, he was a spiritual person. He had a high level of understanding of esoteric ideas. I wouldn't say to the point where he was able to maybe teach the ideas, but he did have teachers. He had esoteric teachers, Kabbalah teachers. Some of the guys that he was communicating with among the tech elite were teaching him esoteric principles, or they were at least having these kind of high level conversations. And what's this one about here? So this is more of the same thing, right? So it's talking about there's an initiation ceremony. This might be something that is more occultic than even that Zodiac Club, I think, because look at what he says here. All right, I'm going to actually open this file so we can look at it directly. This is interesting. So from Boris Nikolak, and it's saying, feel free to forward Bill the comments if you handled them regarding Jesus. I'm confused. I thought that's why she said, "Oh Jesus." Okay. Oh, thank you for. I was like, what is that noise? Thank you for the becoming a member, New Eden's Finest. I appreciate you joining. I don't have any exclusive content yet, but it will get uploaded soon. I have a ton of exclusive content. I just have to upload it to the members section on YouTube. So thank you for joining. I appreciate the support there. So this is, yeah, all right. I'm not going to read this. It gets pretty explicit here, but they're talking about, well, actually, this is pretty similar to the Masonic initiation. There's a spanking and paddling ritual. So that's what they're talking about here. So this whole thread is involving, they're having a back and forth talking about this initiation ritual. All right. This is from Epstein here. In the past, pledges have many connotations: pledge of allegiance, pledge of assets. Most similar to giving pledge includes the comments that relate to the fraternity pledges. Wiki, fraternity brothers, I think he's quoting Wiki, maybe that's what he means. Fraternity brothers often involve pledges and exercises of loyalty and trust. Pledges and brothers may also pledge project that they work on together. Okay. Oh, maybe this is all just from Wikipedia that he copy and pasted. Has completed this pledge of education to their satisfaction, he can be initiated into the brotherhood. The blindfolds and candlelight. The pledge will be initiated into the secrets of the fraternity, from secret mottos and grips and handshakes to passwords and the meaning behind rituals. He will be sworn to secrecy. Why not follow the giving pledge with an initiation into the most select group, joint project, etc.? All right. So, and then he's talking about philanthropy because, he, like all the other banking elites, are deeply involved in philanthropy because it's all tax write-offs. It kind of gives them a cover for all their money laundering and stuff, and they get to support these causes that they have, that involve their special interests that kind of benefit them. So there's a lot of that, obviously. There's probably more of that than anything that I've seen. This is another one. It says, "Welcome to our secret society." So, it's hard to tell if these are jokes or not, if they're just using kind of tongue-in-cheek type language. This is talking about Jeff Ling, the former head of DARPA, a total genius, my good friend, very supportive. Didn't give a ton of detail, but he says he'll do whatever to keep it, help him run, advise, knows how to make science fiction science fact. Whew. That is quite a statement. The head of DARPA knows how to turn science fiction into science fact. So now we're going to get into the occult stuff, okay? So my gateway into this was his book purchases. You can see this receipt here. And now I wouldn't say that he was reading primarily occult literature, but let's go here and we can see a better overview of the stuff he was reading. Sorry, let me open a browser window. And we'll go to, this is the main site that I've been using to find stuff. It's an excellent resource, Jmail. And if you go here, there's this guy, whoever made this site, it's brilliant. I mean, they redesigned, they just did an Epstein version of all the websites he was using. So this is the Epstein Amazon. So if you click on view best-selling books, you can see the books that he was reading that he bought on Amazon. He ordered 99 books, or 99 unique books out of 120 total orders. So he was reading about himself. He's reading about other powerful elites that were in his circle. All right, a lot of politics. There's Lolita. He's reading about Trump. Okay. Nothing really noticeably esoteric. Okay. He's reading about Rothschild, Baron Edmund Rothschild. And now you're getting into the stuff now. Secrets of Western Tantra, the sexuality of the middle path. Okay. There's one. He's reading Nietzsche. So he's reading philosophy books. You see Spinoza here, and you'll see Leibniz. Now, what do these philosophers have in common? What do Leibniz, specifically, I would say Leibniz and Spinoza for sure have in common? They were both into Kabbalah. They were both influenced by Kabbalah. There's academic research on this that you can find. And I'll just give you an example. Sorry, I'm not used to this. I'll just give you an example here. So if you look up Leibniz and Kabbalah, there's a, gosh, sorry about this. And that's not my IP. That if you're going to try to dox my IP, that's I'm behind a VPN, so don't even bother. Leibniz and Kabbalah. There you go. Multiple articles on Leibniz and Kabbalah. Oh, it's mostly from Alison Cordet, who I use in my research, but and then it's the same for who was the other one? I forgot already. Oh yeah, Spinoza. Oh, Spinoza was even more of a Kabbalist. Spinoza, Kabbalism, Spinoza and Kabbalah. Did Spinoza know Kabbalah? So, I mean, there's at least debate over if he was into Kabbalah. So these are, Kabbalah. The reason that Enlightenment philosophers were interested in Kabbalah is because it was, almost entirely metaphysical. So it's all dialectical. Hegel as well, by the way. So he's reading The Conscious Mind by David Chalmers, who is kind of like this transhumanist philosopher who came up with this well, I don't know if he came up with this concept, but it's kind of his main work that he writes about is on the extended mind. This notion that the mind extends outside of the consciousness itself and can actually be extended to the material. So he uses, I think, like a digital note-taking device, for example, and he'll say that if you had a memory loss or something like that, or you had a short-term memory deficit, and you needed to rely on a note-taking device for your mind to even operate at a practical level, right? And somebody stole that device. He argues that they essentially, that person that stole the device where your note-taking is on, they stole a part of your mind because the mind extended to that material object. So you can see how this relates to transhumanist philosophy. That's exactly the kind of logic that leads to transhumanism. So where are we here? So I'm just catching up on chat. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. This is a lot to take in here. So again, we're not going to get to everything here, but we'll get to a good amount of it, I think. So he's reading about homosexuality in the Vatican, right? He's reading about Mustache Man, as any Jewish person would do. Shakespeare. I mean, so look, he's reading some classic stuff. Like, again, this is not a low-level thinker. He's reading Bernard Shaw, okay, Chemistry and Biology, Lucifer's Bankers, some, kind of normie boomer books like about Frank Sinatra or whatever. So, there's a lot of books that he was reading. I don't know if he read all of these, but I think we can definitely deduce that he read a good amount of stuff that relates to the mind, to um, biology, and to the tantric stuff in particular. So let's get into that. So I was looking at this particular order where he got this book, Secrets of Western Tantra, another book titled Modern Sex Magic Secrets, another one about, I think this was written by a Jew about the Jesus dynasty. It's one of these, wacky theories about Jesus was really just a radical kind of revolutionary Jewish figure, right? And people kind of blew him out of proportion, like what his real teachings were, like that kind of thing. And then another one called Chakra and Kundalini Workbook, and another one called Ecstasy Through Tantra. Okay, so he was studying these tantric sexual rituals. So the first one we're going to look at here, and I got a PDF of this, and I'm not going to show it on the stream because there's a lot of explicit imagery in it, and I don't want to risk accidentally showing some of it. But I have the PDF. If I click on this, it'll take me to the PDF. I'm not going to do it. But this was written by an occult writer named Donald Michael Craig. All right. I posted about this somewhere recently. Where is it? Right here. So this is kind of what started this all, as I found this here and then looked up these books. Here's Donald Michael Craig. I think he died recently, maybe in the last 5 years, but some fat occultist, author, magician, tantric, hypnotherapist, musician, training teacher, speaker, blogger. All right, so the hypnotherapist part is important because this guy was like really into hypnotherapy. He got certified. He wrote about it a lot throughout his books. And think about the implications of this tantric practice that involved hypnosis, right? And these kind of hypnotic, ecstatic states that he was trying to induce with these rituals. And it goes without saying who he was performing these rituals with, okay? I found this to be interesting. This is kind of where this leads. Like, he was deeply interested in DNA and in vitro fertilization. If you search for IVF and DNA and throughout the documents, you'll find a ton of emails. Like, I can just show you right now. I mean, this is crazy. Like, he was talking about this excessively. He was obsessed with DNA, right? So if I search for IVF, look at how many results come up. Okay, 81. That's not a ton, but it's a lot. It's a lot to be talking about IVF. 81 times it was mentioned. DNA. Look at how many times DNA was mentioned. 2,167 times in these emails. He's talking about DNA specifically. Tons of DNA tests. So he was doing, he was shipping out like all these DNA tests from 23andMe because he's trying to, we'll get into it. I'm going to reserve that because that's kind of like I don't want to spoil anything here, but that's kind of like what this all, I think, culminates to from my assessment. But this is what this is about. Like, this is why he was studying all this stuff, like these tantric practices, because he was trying to, make a superhuman genetic kind of creation, right? Like with his DNA. What's this? If you want to name the occult book they use, I know which one it is. What are we talking about? I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, these are the ones that we know that he purchased. So, I mean, I know that they're not like, if an actual cultist were to look at this stuff, they'd be like, this is such slop. This guy, Donald Michael Craig, like, these weren't serious occult writers. Donald Michael Craig, and this guy, okay, this the next one we'll get into, but this is a Crowleyan student. So this guy, Christopher S. Hyatt, was a student of Crowley. He was a little bit more, I think, well respected. He was a PhD. But this one was exploring the history of Western sexual practice, sexual magic, from the tantrics of India to the Sufis of the Middle East to the Templars, medieval alchemists. Okay, Aleister Crowley. So that's why he knew about this stuff. He knew about medieval alchemy. He was talking about it. He argues that nobody. This is the author, Donald Craig, is saying in the book that Kabbalah formed the basis of Western sex magic in all its forms as it exists today. The book decodes Crowley's 9-degree ritual, the emblems and the mode of use, which is the core sex magic instruction of the OTO, written in alchemical cipher. It includes detailed discussion of the sexual symbolism of the Jerusalem temple, the cherubim figurine of the whole. This is so blasphemous. So he's sexualizing everything. And I think it was this book, if I'm not mistaken, or one of these, that when I was reading through the PDF, or just breezing through it, basically, I just stopped after I saw this. I was like, this is just such disgusting, blasphemous filth. He's sexualizing the Eucharist. I mean, it's just so satanic. So, I mean, this is like real Satanism, not when people talk about oh, this is a satanic conspiracy. This is actually satanic, definitively. I mean, we're getting into Crowleyan magic now. So, I took some excerpts there. I'm not going to read all that, but the next one is Secrets of Western Tantra. Okay. So again, written by Christopher S. Hyatt, who was the co-founder of the Thelemic Order of the Golden Dawn and a practicing hypnotist. So another hypnotist. Okay. And a Crowley. So he was, I'm assuming, an associate of Crowley, if he helped found the Golden Dawn. He dedicated the book to Israel Regardie, Kabbalist and Aleister Crowley's personal secretary in Paris. So yeah, there you go. He was in Crowley's circle, obviously. The book merges Kundalini yoga with Thelemite ritual magic, drawing on Kabbalah's Tree of Life, Sephirot, as the structural foundation. So same stuff as this here. James Wasserman's preface explicitly invokes the Aeon of the Child, which was Crowley's term for the new spiritual age, the Aeon of Horus, ruled by the crowned and conquering child. Okay, so there you can see in the acknowledgments in the front of the book. So I have a PDF of this one as well. This one I don't think has, I mean, it's nothing really to see. I mean, we could look at the table of contents, but yeah, I mean, filthy stuff. It's just all degenerate. The magical child. What is this, man? I don't even want to look at that. So that's that. Chakra and Kundalini workbook. Okay, just more of the same stuff. And the annotated Lolita. I didn't think this was much of an occult text, but there's just some notable themes of the protagonist's prey as being described as nymphic, a demoniac, right, and possessing some kind of fantastic power that the girl herself was unconscious of. Okay, so probably something there. Now, this is where we find that Epstein was interested in Kabbalah. In 2010, an Orthodox Jewish art dealer named Mark Fisher was teaching Epstein Kabbalistic doctrine, writing to him between chemotherapy sessions. Fisher was transmitting standard Tanya doctrine, the foundational text of Chabad Lubavitch, specifically the teaching that the Jewish soul exists on a higher plane than the non-Jewish soul. And we're all familiar with this because this was one of the first things people started noticing was all the references to the Goyim and the Jewish supremacy that was being highlighted. Okay. This was kind of the first thing, which I think, yes, that's there. And it is an important thing to note. But I think a lot of people were getting really hyper fixated on that, and it was becoming a distraction. So I think and myself included. It was like that was kind of the initial hype, was like everyone was talking about that. And now that that's kind of settled down, I think people are just starting to look more into the other stuff, because it's like if they're talking about all this, casually throwing around the term goyim all the time, like what else is in here? So I think this is even more important than him using the term goyim, because in a lot of cases he was just saying that jokingly. But here you can see that he was actually being instructed by a Kabbalist that the Jewish soul has more value than a non-Jewish soul. And so it says here, let me just click on this file. Here it is. All right, so here's the file itself. Thought about our conversation regarding meditation. Actually, it's not that hard. Why? A Jewish soul has a very different structure, different ingredients and components, relates to its higher levels differently, has different higher levels, relates to itself and other people in different manner than a non-Jewish soul. To use repair methods / meditation on something as sensitive as soul, it requires the right tools. You cannot fix an Aston Martin with a Ford pickup truck tool set. I guess that would be the Goyim's tool set. We're just all us Goyim can make is a Ford. So it's funny he uses Ford, Henry Ford's pickup truck tool set. With the right meditation, it isn't so hard. If you are coming from, okay, so it's about chemo. So he just casually throws it in an email about meeting him for chemo stuff. So you can see that that's there. And I think there's multiple emails on that. And now this is an idea that I just want to make clear is in the Zohar itself. This isn't left to speculation. It's not something that only appears in certain sects of Kabbalism, of Jewish mystical thought, right? This is something that is in the Zohar. And I found this article. Actually, this was something that was in my library. I've had this for a while. And you can see here, gosh, these Cloudflare, get out of here. Don't dox my VPN IP. Come on. It's because I'm not in my browser, so I don't know what's going on here. If it's going to keep sending me through this loop, I'm just going to say forget it. Anyway, not important because I quoted it here. The Zohar, the primary. So the point is that I was trying to show you is this is like this is from an academic source that they're quoting the Zohar. The Zohar, the primary source of Jewish mystical thought, firmly establishes the perspective distinguishing between the souls of Jews and non-Jews, describing the Jewish people at the outset of creation as the children of the Holy One, blessed be He, whose souls are therefore holy. This in contrast to the souls of the nations, that's the Goyim, which emanate from the impure sources and render impure anything that approaches them. That's why they don't use our tools. So we got filthy goy tools that they don't, they're impure. Fisher asked for Epstein's Hebrew name. This isn't that important, but it's just showing that there was some kind of like Kabbalistic relationship. So he's doing Kabbalistic prayers for Epstein using gematria. He starts to kind of teach Epstein gematria, or he tells him at least to look into it. He's saying the Hebrew alphabet is a cipher for numbers. The entire Torah is a long equation or a series of equations and relational mathematical phrases. And he gives them a Wikipedia link on gematria. But we have some evidence that Epstein perhaps knew at least some level of gematria or of how it's used. I don't think we have evidence that he was using gematria, but he was at least aware of how it functioned. So this isn't a separate thread with him. And, again, like you see these computer scientists that he was corresponding with, and they're having very high level discussions. So this is between him and a Yale computer scientist, David Gerlenter, writing to Epstein about Hebrew calligraphy. And he quoted the central text of Kabbalah: "Man, genuine man, exists only at the moment of sexual union." Epstein sexualized the response, suggesting Gerlenter focus on the negative spaces between the Hebrew letters, much more erotic, a bulging Shema, or a throbbing Gamil. Oh, that is the most Jewish thing I've ever read. I feel like I need a shower after saying that. That's really, like, again, it was just all his interest in Kabbalah, I think, was just entirely erotic, which, you know, it, to be fair, there's a lot of eroticism in Kabbalah. I mean, it's all about the sexual union and the merging of opposites through the Shekinah and all this stuff. So, I mean, there's a ton of sexualizing even within the Zohar itself. The Zohar goes into great detail to describe explicitly like phallic objects and all this grotesque stuff, like to make these like spiritual connections with the erotic. So there's a lot of that even in the Zohar. I mean, it's not just that Epstein is explicitly trying to sexualize it. It's just like, you know, this is this pretty similar language to what's in the Zohar, actually. I apologize to those tuning in. I mean, this is dark stuff, you know? I mean, I guess you know what you're getting into when you click into a stream like this, but it's not something, you know, I think if we're studying these things, especially this in particular, be very discerning. Speaking for myself here too. It's important to be prayerful during this because it can take a toll on you. And you're dealing with really real dark forces that have a real impact on your life and what you're doing in your day-to-day life when you kind of invite this kind of stuff into your life, even to just examine it, to understand it. It's not an easy task. So please pray for me as well as I do this stuff. I feel kind of burdened to you know, put it out there. But this phrase, okay, so this is a more about the Jewish soul. And this is in a correspondence with Obama's White House counsel, Catherine Rumeller, who wrote to Epstein in 2017. Here I thought I only had a Jewish soul. Okay. And then again, she says in another email, you forgot that I have a Jewish soul. This was like years, you know, 2 years later. And then, I mean, I think we all saw this one. If you're on X, this was going around. Epstein says to Roger Schenck, "This is the way Jews make money. Let the Goyim deal in the real world." So kind of showing that there's that superiority. All right, now we get into, this is where it gets pretty interesting. And maybe I'll pause here if anyone wants to, I don't know if you'd have questions, like, or I don't know. Let me just catch up on chat for a sec here. I don't think we have anything new in the Substack. We're good. I don't want to overwhelm you guys, but you know, I can move on here if it's all right. Galenter had his fingers blown off by Ted Kaczynski. Are you serious? That's wild. Wow. He was one of those professors, huh? One of those guys. I mean, I'm not going to Fed post, but I'll say that, you know, Ted had he had very specific targets. I'll say that. Do you think there's a connection between the Kabbalistic eroticism and the eroticism of the Latin saints like Margaret Mary Alcoque or Catherine of Siena? I haven't looked into that in particular, but you do see, I think I've talked about this recently in one of the, I don't remember which stream, but this came up. I have this question myself. I haven't looked into it enough to know. I would assume if there was something like that going on, it was due to the influence of some of the Latin esoteric figures like Joachim of Fiore, for example. So it might have just been like secondhand through that. Joachim of Fiore predated the Zohar, so like you couldn't even really tie those medieval figures to the Zohar if they were pre 13th century. But there is still that transmission of Jewish mysticism that was being kind of cross-pollinated into Latin circles to some degree. It obviously became much more prevalent during the Renaissance, but I would assume if there was something like that going on, it was like through more of like a Gnostic or Neoplatonic kind of influence. Um, I think what I'm particularly interested in is like the Sacred Heart stuff, because that's pretty mystical, and it's, you know, not something that you see having continuity throughout the lives of the saints. It's something that kind of developed during the medieval period, and so it's like, where does that come from? This meditation upon like anatomy, right? um, yeah, and then, you know, this is important here that this figure David Hansen. Well, let me kind of back up here. We'll start here. This is the thelemic golem. So this is like literally Epstein was building a clone of himself, a robotic golem of himself. And he was working with this guy, David Hansen, to do this. So Crowley's system is the unifying framework behind Epstein's bookshelf, at least in terms of the higher level thinking, I would say. Thelema, and at the very least, with the esoteric books that he had, the few esoteric books, they all had that thread of Crowleyan Thelema. Do what that will shall be the whole of the law is not simply libertinism. It is a specific religious system claiming that humanity has entered into a new spiritual age, the Aeon of Horus, in which the old moral restraints of Christianity no longer apply, and the practitioner's only obligation to discover and enact their true will. Okay. And this gets into Kabbalah. I'm not going to go like deep into that, but that's also a theme in Kabbalah, that there's this whole concept of negation of the moral law that involves, like, you know, antinomianism and kind of purposely transgressing to balance out the opposing forces of good and evil. The institutional vehicle of the OTO, that is the Order of Templi Orientis, whose inner degrees 7 through 9 are devoted to sex magic. The ninth degree contains what Crowley called the emblems and mode of use, the core ritual written in alchemical cipher to conceal its nature. So you have this David Hansen, who is the creator of Sophia. Now, Sophia is very common in esotericism. This, in the esoteric context, represents the that merging of opposing forces that I was talking about. So in Kabbalah, you see the Sophia as the Shekinah, right? So it's like this divine feminine figure. Okay, so even just, I always talk about this, how like the names of these transhumanist projects are always esoteric, almost always. And if it seems like they're not, they probably still are, and you just don't know the reference. It's like that kind of thing. The humanoid robot granted Saudi citizenship, and so he created a robot called Sophia that was granted Saudi citizenship in 2017. And this was Epstein's primary robotics collaborator. And he was listed, not only was he, did he himself acknowledge that he was an OTO member, he put it on his resume. It was on his CV, and you can look at it here. I've got the file here. This is David Hansen's resume. Look at this, man. There's tons of stuff in this. There's tons of references in this resume, a professional resume for a robotics researcher. Okay. Why is there all this esoteric stuff in here? Look at all these projects he worked for. Okay. Walt Disney Imagineer with Jim Henson. Okay. He was involved in the NSF, World Technology Award, NASA. You always see NASA. And they're, you know, MIT. A lot of these guys are from MIT or Yale. Okay. So now, and look at his experience. Where is it here? What am I looking for? Open Cog, okay. Sophia Huber's arm motion generation, handshake and gestures. Entering the age of living intelligent systems and Android society for the PlayStation website. A human computer interface and device system, which was US patent. Symbol grounding via chaining morphisms. A system and method for controlling intelligent animated characters. That's why he's working with Jim Henson and Disney. Monroe and Hansen humanoid robots as agents of human consciousness expansion. Okay, this is, again, something that Epstein was deeply interested in. I just explained that book that he was reading that involved the expansion of human consciousness into the material. Singularity.net, decentralized and open market for internetwork AIs. Humanizing robots, how making humanoids can make us more human. Lord have mercy. This is just such a demonic individual. The coming robotics revolution, expectations and fears about emergent intelligent machines. They're all trying to dispel all of us AI doomers, right? They hate us AI doomers. They just actually, the Times Magazine just published an article on AI doomers, on this debate between the AI accelerationists and the doomers. And actually, I believe Joe Allen, who I interviewed, is on the cover. He's like in the middle of this, all these photos of all these individuals that they're calling AI doomers. Hansen is a typical trans. Yeah, like that. That's what I mean. It's like when you think about how transhumanism has been this ideology that just evolved with technology, that would make sense. Like when you look at that, like most people would say, like, what? That doesn't even make sense. He was a puppeteer. How could he be a transhumanist? Well, he had a lot of transhumanist ideas. If you like read his thoughts, Jim Henson, and like just look at the circle he surrounded himself with. I mean, the puppeteering, it was kind of like what AI is now. It's like an extension. He's making this character that doesn't exist, that is that people are perceiving as real to some degree. It's all involving imagination and kind of like fantasy, right? It's an extension of the creator's consciousness. So there's a lot of transhumanist ideas in puppeteering. Learning Human-Like Facial Expressions for the Android by Philip K. Dick. Okay, another figure that you see pop up all the time with these transhumanists, the sci-fi writer, Philip K. Dick. They're all obsessed with these big three sci-fi writers, Elon Musk too, especially, right? He named Grok after a Philip K. Dick book. Or it was it was one of the other big three. I think it was Robert Heinlein. He named Grok after a Robert Heinlein character in one of his sci-fi novels. Okay, covered that before. Roadmap for AGI humanoid robotics. So I mean, look at this. There's tons of stuff here. I think he named something involving Kabbalah somewhere. Let me see here. I don't know if I can search this document because of this app I'm using. I think I took a screenshot of it. Yeah, I mean, look, this is a big resume, all the same stuff, right? It's all biometrics and transhumanist studies and projects and whatnot. So, I mean, this is a long resume. He worked for NATO, United Nations, Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, World Economic Forum, FinTech, Disney Accelerator Demo Day, MIT, AGI Berlin, World Technology Summit. I mean, just crazy resume. DreamWorks. Okay. Everything you would expect. Huge resume of all this stuff. It's an impressive resume if you're a transhumanist. It's like, wow, this guy's only involved in this field. Yeah. All his awards. Okay, so we get the idea, right? And so this is who's communicating here with Epstein to build him. This is who's building a robo Epstein, as he calls it. And yeah, and here, this is what I was not able to find. So in his resume, he also has, is this what I'm looking for? So OTO member, he has it in there. And so he says in this email, using AI and large data sets to recreate functional portraits of existing personalities. All right. Epstein, he sent Epstein a 6-page white paper for the Genie Lab, $84,000 per month, $3 million over 36 months, including mind uploading and using AI and large data sets to create functional. Yeah. So what I just read there, that's all in this document here. Ben Gordzel, who received $100,000 directly from Epstein and whose OpenCog project became Sophia's AI brain, brokered the Hansen introduction. In January 2013, he wrote, he's potentially interested in having you make him a custom humanoid robot for him, a Robo Epstein. That would be awesome. Yeah, awesome, right? A PDF file robot. That's exactly what we need. So awesome, guys. Google the Pharmacopoeia of the Abyss. That's the book. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not really interested in like reading a lot of this stuff. I'm more interested in like, how are these people who believe that these things can actually reshape reality? How are they understanding it and applying it to us? Like, I don't feel personally obligated to actually read all this stuff. There's, I think, more fruitful stuff I could be reading that I already don't read enough of. An OTO member, co-founder of Singularity Net. So I'm just kind of naming all the stuff we just went over. So this is just, yeah, he's building a golem, an Epstein golem. Now, this was something else I found that I didn't really see anyone talking about this. There was a series of exchanges about developing a new Rosicrucianism. Okay, another secret society that was kind of like between the Baconian Invisible College. It was the actualization of Roger Bacon's, or I'm sorry, Francis Bacon's Invisible College concept that he wrote about in the New Atlantis. Okay, and it actualized in the early 17th century, and it was kind of a precursor to Freemasonry. So a lot of even conspiracy theorists, they might have seen the term, but they don't really know what Rosicrucianism is. I've had a lot of people ask me what it is because I've written about it. And so for someone to be, for Epstein to be like in conversations and his emails about Rosicrucianism is pretty interesting to me. I mean, that shows that there was people, at least in his circle, that had esoteric knowledge, or at least, historically. So this was from Michelle Riley, who is a Princeton mathematician, Columbia physicist, and co-founded a startup with MIT professor Seth Lloyd. And she emailed Epstein with a message that opens with the passing aside. High-profile island orgies also independently come to mind, but I have a strong suspicion that you may already have that covered. And then it pivots to a substantial proposal. I think we're mostly starving for great conspiracies today. 10 to 12 person coordinated secrets. Or again, that 12 person that you saw in the Zodiac Club. What about a new Rosicrucianism of sorts? What are your thoughts on funding and constructing your own intelligence agency? I think she probably didn't know that he already had one. Winds of Fate in Substack chat says, I referenced Sophia the robot in relation to Julia Mossbridge, referenced in the emails, and her connection to the IONS, the ions, and thus Dean Radin / Gino Yu. So cool to see that Hansen was directly tied straight to Jeff. God bless your work. Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. If you can remember, DM me on Substack that article. I'd like to read it. Got here late. That's okay. Got here late. What did I miss? uh, Kind of a lot. I would say go back and watch the replay. um, we're getting into the juicy stuff here that is most likely going to be paywalled when I publish this, probably tomorrow on Substack. So you're getting a preview. I'm not going to be able to cover all of it. I probably will start wrapping this up soon, but I want to show you guys where this is going, that this wasn't just like he had these connections to global banking elites and he was in the Trilateral Commission and all this stuff that you would kind of expect, this like kind of normie tier conspiracy stuff. Like he was pretty deep into esoteric teachings, relatively speaking. I mean, there's people in his circle that were much deeper into it, but his network was an occult network. I think we can deduce that at least from the side of the projects that he was involved with regarding technology, gene modification, DNA, the DNA testing, all this stuff. Like these guys were all the people he was in ongoing conversations with. They seem to be pretty involved in the occult to some degree. And they seem to be interested in, teaching him more. So, in January 2015, this is getting pretty late into the Epstein files. I think they didn't really go past 2015 might be the latest, to my knowledge. I don't recall seeing much after that, because I think he started, I think he was indicted after around that time. So I think this is probably among the later correspondences here. So this shows you what he was. This is what he was doing before he got caught. You could imagine if he was still involved today, how far this stuff would have gotten. Now, would this all have continued with or without him? Probably. Would things have advanced further if he had been involved since 2015? Maybe. I don't know. That's speculative, but he saw the direction things were going in. He wanted it in. He was interested, and he was putting a lot of money at stake. So, quantum computing scientist Michelle Riley. Okay, I read that already. Yeah, so this is the Rosicrucian stuff. Okay, so there it is. This is the document here. So again, I'll have all the links included when I publish this article this weekend. By the time most of you are seeing this video, it'll probably be published, and I'll have it in the link in the description of the video. She proposed exclusive science salons at a salon or on Little St. James Island, experimentation with philosophers and scientists examining physiological stuff. She flagged AI epistemology as the ideal topic for the first salon. She signed off fraternal regards from one Coney Island baby to another. All right, now this is where it gets really interesting. This was a response to Epstein, to an Epstein email from January 9th, in which he described ketamine as a groundbreaking idea. Now, in the early what's she talking about? A Coney Island baby. In the early 1900s, Coney Island ran a sideshow where premature babies were displayed in incubators as a commercial attraction, the incubator babies. She was writing this to the man running baby farms in Ukraine. And that's about Epstein, and I'll show you that was something he was involved in. Describing herself and Epstein both as incubator babies, signing with the language of fraternal orders. And so here's a photo of that on Coney Island. Just a big spectacle, infant and incubators with living infants. Epstein forwarded the email within 28 minutes to Joshua Bach, who was an AI researcher. I think he was referenced earlier in one of the correspondences about one of the secret societies, if I'm not mistaken. And so he's an AI researcher, MIT Media Lab, and Harvard. Epstein funded and housed him in Epstein's own Manhattan apartment on Epstein's tab. So Bach's response described a shadow research planning academy where scientific visionaries project future research agendas in new disciplines, a series of workshops focusing on neglected knowledge such as Russian psychopharmacology, Buddhist psychology, Chinese opinion control. What is an MIT AI researcher looking into all this stuff about, you know? A network of media people that can be used to efficiently place and coordinate friendly items in our corrupt opinion market. This reads like the protocols. This is like the transhumanist protocols. Psychedelic retreats for groups of select individuals with the explicit goal to create a tightly knit group capable of radically thinking and influencing global affairs. There are some more that I would not want to put into email. You could only imagine how much was not even included in these emails that they were talking about behind closed doors, that they knew they didn't want to leave a rabbit trail of evidence of. You know, you could only imagine, because this is just what they're actually communicating. Storm the Cat says it was this conspiracy researcher who was talking about Kabbalah and black magic, stuff like that. I saw it in a video. Oh, this is in conversation to something. Yeah, I'm not sure the context of that. Okay. Where are we here? Oh, that's what he said. Okay. So that's the email there. Psychedelic bonding retreats for a chosen group, and then things he wouldn't even write down. The Rosicrucian order, so this is just explaining what the Rosicrucian order is founded in the early 17th century, operative through invisible networks, combining Hermeticism, Kabbalah, alchemy, and natural science, transmitting gnosis through exactly this model. Select initiates, private correspondences, experimentation, and a public face of conventional respectability. Riley wasn't using the word as a metaphor. He was proposing a functional revival of the structure. I think that's safe to say. I don't think that he was saying this in jest. This seems like a pretty serious email. Okay. Because he's expressing all these real ideas that he has. So, like, why would he throw in something jokingly? Like, oh, by the way, haha, Rosicrucianism, wouldn't that be funny? Like, this seems like a pretty serious exchange, you know? On a related note, Epstein was a financial supporter of the Edge Reality Club, modeled explicitly after Francis Bacon's Invisible College / Royal Society, which is even mentioned here. And so I found this is the email here. This is from John Brockman. He says, "Are you interested in backing this year's event?" to Epstein. And I don't know if you guys can see this because I know the font is small, but look at this roster. Jeff Bezos. Okay. John Brockman, who is the president of the Edge Foundation. Bill Gates. Elon Musk. Larry Page. Okay. Some really hugely influential figures. Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, Evan Williams of Twitter. Jimmy Wales of Wikipedia. Okay. All these tech giants. And this is like, I guess the description of this event, like who's there, what it's about. And this is about this Edge masterclass. So it's this, again, inner circle of these tech elites. And it is the most recent iteration of Edge's development, which began its activities under the name The Reality Club in 1981. So I did a little bit of looking into on this. I mean, he gives a link here. So the link is dead, but you can go to the Edge website and click on About. It's kind of an outdated website, but still active. So it gives you some history. The Reality Club was founded by an esotericist named James Lee Byers, who came up with this idea to arrive at, well, he didn't come up with this. This is literally a Rosicrucian idea. To arrive at the edge of the world's knowledge, seek out the most complex and sophisticated minds, put them in a room together, and have them ask each other the questions they are asking themselves. So, I mean, that's why he was inquiring about a Rosicrucian order. I mean, that's exactly what this is. So these exist. They're out there. They're under different names. We probably don't know most of them. They're probably a little bit more fragmented than the Rosicrucian order was originally. But it's the same spirit. So there, look at this. I mean, blindfold, right? Gold is a symbolic. We covered that with in my interview with Matthew Pajot, what gold represents. James Lee inspired the idea of the Reality Club, responsible for the motto. Okay, so it's based on this motto, to arrive at the edge of the world's knowledge. They have this idea of establishing a third culture beyond the scientific revolution. Third culture consists of those scientists and other. So look, this is all public, right? Like this isn't hidden. This is out there. What is hidden is what's, these ideas that they're exchanging that we're seeing in the emails. At least that's, we're only seeing what they're sharing. Again, he even says in the email that there's stuff he wouldn't even write down. So, so this is what, and I did look into this further to just confirm. Again, this is why you have to look into these threads and not just like highlighted excerpts, because a lot of these are people asking for collaboration or like inquiring about something. And you don't know if Epstein actually got involved unless you can see some kind of response that he gave that you can deduce that he was involved. Right. And so in this case, from what I gathered, it looked like he was in support of this and he did help them out financially. The Reality Club. Okay. So I just covered that. So this gets into the architecture of Little St. James. So you can see the Masonic pillars there on his bookcase. Right. There's Joaquin and Boaz. Here's a zodiac hermetic fresco that's on his ceiling of the dome. There's a lot of stuff about tunnels. Okay, here's the famous sundial everyone knows of. Right. There's we have in the emails evidence that they actually built tunnels. You can see here. There's correspondences between him and the construction workers and the architects of Little St. James Island. So I don't, it seems like he obviously had say in the design. Some stuff he had them like this. He's saying, you decide. And they're talking about an ATV garage, right? And it's saying, I would not hold up payment of $105,000 searching whether Gensler had direction from the team that added tunnels and an office below the main house. I recommend we go forward, payment with the contract. Okay. So they're acknowledging the existence of tunnels, not if they should make tunnels or not. And there's actually multiple emails that talk about the tunnels too. So like most people, and I've seen a lot of this, they think that the temple is built based on, what is this? Do I have an image of this? Yeah. They think that the Epstein temple is based on the temple in Jerusalem because it has the golden dome. But this is what it's really based on, because we know this now from the emails. He admits this. He sends them a picture. This is between Epstein and Ion Nicola, who was a French painter, I believe. I don't know that he was an architect, but I guess he had some say in the design. And so he's saying what this is here. Once we'll have all the rocks drawn, then we can repaint the rocks. Maybe it's better to draw the first building, be easier. He's saying that this is where did I put the name of this? The Marrakesh, what is this? The Marrakesh property. Okay. I must have had, I think this is actually in the draft on Substack. I must not have updated this, but I put in there what this actually is. Is he not mentioned? I thought he mentioned it here. So it's some kind of structure in Aleppo. I think he does. Yeah, Mamluk. I built an arch like the Mamluk architecture style. So we can look at what that is. Sorry, again, I'm not on my regular browser. This is in Aleppo. So this is what he based it off of. You can see there. I mean, that's like uncanny. Even the arch, right? It's the same. He had the same arch, the same dome, the blue stripes, the palm trees. I mean, I know it was an island, but it's like, same palms surrounding the structure. So it's like, what's esoteric about this? Oh, for one, during the Mamluk era, girls were bought and sold as concubine slaves for the elite. So there you go. So I think I'm going to save the rest of this. I mean, there's some interesting stuff about Bannon. He had some pretty high-level conversations with Bannon that revealed quite a bit, particularly about his knowledge of alchemy and science. So you can see some of the conversations there. Yeah, there's some really, okay, the Wexner thread. Maybe we can cover this too. I was really trying to meet the super chat goal, but I guess, I'm not going to be strict on that. I'm not going to say, hey, pay me or else, like we'll just cover this here. So yeah, just so you know, you're getting a glimpse here to like, this is going to be paywalled when I actually post this article. I did tweet about this, so I might as well cover it because I think I covered this recently in a tweet. Where was that? Right here. So this is about Leslie Wexner, who was just in the news because he's being questioned right now by, I think, what is it? By who is he being questioned by right now? There's that. He's like in trial. Let me see here. Les Wexner. I just saw some clips of him. Yeah. He confirmed that Epstein worked for Rothschilds. Again, it's like he's, Epstein kind of said that himself.
Rothschild, and so I mentioned that earlier. So he represented their whole family, so there have been a whole bunch of people. I mean, most of whom I never would have met, but I knew LA. He would say, like, I'm providing financial advice to the founders of Google.
Yeah, which, again, we know from the emails. So he's just in the news lately. I don't know who... I mean, he's got lawyers with him. I don't know who, what exactly this case is that he's being, like, who's questioning him, but... there's like a clip, I guess, that was going around the other day where his lawyer's telling him, like, you're saying too much, like, stop. So he's trying to be really careful with his words. But anyway, so he was a co-conspirator with Epstein. He was, he donated a ton of, or I don't even want to say donated. He was basically a patron of Epstein. So he was probably above Epstein in some regard. So who is this guy? If you don't know Wexner, he was a co-conspirator and financier of, financier of Epstein himself, founder of L Brands, Victoria's Secret, The Limited. He told a journalist, this was back in when was this, like 1990 something? He told a journalist, fellow Jew, Julie Baumgold, that he had lived with a Kabbalistic demon called a Debuk since boyhood. His father had named the sensation the churning. This is all in this article here. Yo, what's up, Al? Thank you, man. Appreciate the 5. Pay me around. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Pay me right now. Thank you for the shekels there, man. Appreciate it. Pay me science bucks. So this was in a 1985 New York Magazine cover profile that you can see here. He says, on the morning Leslie Wexner became a billionaire, he woke up worried, but this was not unusual. He always wakes up worried because of his book, which pokes and prods and gives him the itchiness of the soul that he calls schwickels, pins in Yiddish. Sometimes he runs away from it on the roads of Columbus, or drives away from it in his Porsches, or flies from it in one of his planes, but then it's back with his first coffee, his first meeting, nudging at him. This whole thing, I mean, the whole first few pages, it looks like, is about this demon. He met his debuk again when he climbed Vale Mountain and changed his life. And Whitney Webb covered this years ago. And I think it's just kind of resurfacing now. A debuk, as defined by the Encyclopedia Britannica, is a disembodied human spirit that, because of former sins, wanders relentlessly until it finds a haven in the body of a living person. Unlike spirits that have yet to move on but possess positive qualities, the debuk is almost always considered to be malicious. It is translated in English as demon. This was also the case in New York Magazine profile on Wexner. The book is not a metaphor in the tradition. It's an actual demon, right? Wexner gave Epstein power of attorney over his entire financial empire, unprecedented for a non-family member. He gave him the $13.2 million Manhattan mansion that we've seen at 9 East 71st Street. He gave him access to Victoria's Secret as a recruitment pipeline. The FBI listed him as a co-conspirator. And in the files, Epstein sent him 4 emails in rapid succession with the subject line Wexner. Each one added another element. Wexner, necklace, mother suit. I can't say that word. There's probably a lot of words that I've already said I can't say on YouTube. Mother unaliving. Sharon, taxes, New Albany, bankrupt, never. So he's using like encoded language. It seems like in the emails, he's kind of adding on terms. A leverage file assembled in real time. The man who said he lived with a demon was also the man whose secrets Epstein was collecting, and Epstein boasted of his connection to Wexner. He wrote to Jewish Philanthropy in 2013 that he had supported many Jewish and Israeli causes around the world. This is from Epstein. So he's trying to get this email, he's trying to get in a write-up on the Jewish Philanthropy website for himself, where he's boasting of his connection to Wexner and of his support of a multitude of Jewish organizations and Israeli causes, he says. So there you go. I think that's all I'm going to cover here, to be honest, guys, because I don't want to give away too much. There's a lot that went into the research on this article. Again, I'm calling it a dossier. I don't know if it's it's kind of just a collection of research. I'm trying not to draw too many conclusions myself out of this, because I think that it, mostly speaks for itself. But there you go. He was involved in secret societies. He had these occult and esoteric influences surrounding him. He had some of his own he was reading about, he was inquiring into, to understand specifically the role of sexual magic and tantric practices, right? And that was all to make this kind of like, I didn't even get into this. This will be reserved, I think, for the paywall. I think there's some of it in here, but this, is something that requires a further deep dive. The fact that he was like, had this baby farm operation and he was involved in all this purchasing of DNA testing kits. I saw one email where he spent close to 10 grand at 23andMe, and he was having them sent all over the world in the Middle East. He was collaborating with the Muslim Caliphate, and he was trying to build this like superhuman, perfected person, right? This is what the transhumanist goal is, to like for mankind to perfect himself, Murdoch Art, thank you, man, for the 20 W's in the chat for Murdoch. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for what you do. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's like I said, it's kind of a burden. So I do really appreciate all the support. Even if your support just comes in the form of prayer or just tuning in and lurking. I mean, I really appreciate all of it, because this is not something it's not easy to do. It's not something I think is for everyone to be doing. It's pretty dark. So I appreciate the support, man. Thank you. I hope that by me doing this, it prevents you from, if anything, it prevents you from feeling compelled to do this stuff on your own, because it is like, to compile all this stuff, you have to read through all of it. It's like quite a task. You could get lost in it, man. I mean, this is like, you're talking 50,000 documents just on the last drop. And who knows if we'll get more, we might get more soon. Like, who knows if how many are out there, how many more we might get, how many more rabbit holes are out there. I mean, we're just discovering this stuff now. People are just they're just now building the tools to be able to parse all this information. And I had a good conversation with Mathieu Pajot about this, who suspected that this whole thing could even be for the purpose of getting people to rely more heavily on AI to parse all of this data. So something like this gives you a big reason to feel compelled to use AI, even if you are reluctant to use it. So that's an interesting take. I think there's probably something to that. That could very well be the case. And I think at this point, whether you use AI to parse through the Epstein files or not, whether you use it personally, it probably doesn't matter, because all of these research tools that are being built explicitly to do this are using AI. I could show you some examples, but they're all using AI. Thank you, Octavian, man. I appreciate that. 1999. Thank you for delving into the darkness. Thank you, brother. Anthony doing the science for us. Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I wouldn't do any of it if no one showed up. So I appreciate all of you. All right. Well, I guess any questions or whatever. I put in, I think, in the super chat goals for like, let me see. I don't know if we reached it, but I was being a little ambitious with it, but I was proposing an open panel Q&A for tomorrow night. Maybe I'll do it anyway, because I do have my Q&A scheduled for tomorrow night. They're usually for paid subs, but I think I'll do occasional public open panels. I think that might be fun if you guys wanted to just hop on and just chat about literally anything. Might be fun. So I might just do one of those tomorrow night. So thank you for those who held down the donations, because that definitely helps to get to where we need to be here to make this worthwhile. So stay tuned for the article. I'm going to, again, be posting this on Substack. So if you're not subscribed over on Substack, it's thereversion.co. I've got some really exciting stuff I'm working on behind the scenes. If you're not in the Discord, you can join there, and that's where I kind of share some of my ongoing projects involving the reversion. I'm working on some stuff. I think I mentioned this on Twitter, that due to all this Discord stuff that's happening, there was already a leak of the I just read today, a few hours ago, that there was already a leak of these digital IDs that they're collecting. So like it already happened. Um, and so with all this talk about, Discord's the only app that's like this, that has this kind of like reliable live chat type of structure with channels and all that stuff and all the capabilities it has. There's kind of no competition. And this kind of sparked a discussion about potentially returning to the old way of communicating online through message boards and like more private chat mediums like IRC and whatnot. And so I started to build a forum. I don't think it's ready to show anybody yet, but I spent a good bit of time um, nerding out in the terminal and getting it set up on a private host, and that'll be launched soon. It'll be part of kind of the extended community that I've been building this whole time. That you can again, you can join in the Discord. We're on there for now, but I do plan to kind of branch out and make it more something that's indexable, that we can have like kind of more serious conversations and more long form stuff like how the internet used to be. So that's going to be coming up. I've got a membership site I'm building, so a lot of cool stuff for you guys to engage more with the community that we have here, and with the some of the more private content that I've made over the years, and that I will be continuing to make. So thank you for all of your support in the efforts that I'm doing here. I really do appreciate it. I think I'll probably sign off here. So thanks again, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless you all. Go to Divine Liturgy, go to the services, hold fast during our the Lenten period that's coming up. Well, we're kind of in it already. We've got meat fair or a cheese fair coming up on Sunday. That means no more cheese. We're officially entering the vegan diet for our 40-day fast starting on next Monday. So God be with you all during that, and I hope to see you maybe tomorrow night for a Q&A. And if not, I'll see you in the Discord if you're there. But until next time, take care, everyone. God bless.